The chat coming at you guys. He's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. We're live from the PNC Bank studio. T, how we doing today, bro?
I'm doing great. I'm going to try to stay in the shot with you this time. You said when you watched us back, I was way out here. Hey, George, can you hear me now?
Literally. So, folks watching on Nesson's YouTube, Nesson Twitch, appreciate you guys watching. Hit the subscribe button as well. If you're listening, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime, like, subscribe, rate, review. By the end of last show, I look over and I'm watching because I'll watch back time to time.
I know, me too.
And I just see Trav's entire right arm off the screen. Now I get it as I'm doing this is my left, but I'm just like, there's part of.
I know.
And we'll give a lesson to the folks watching back home.
Yeah.
When you're on screen, when you're talent, you have your markers, you have your places where you have to be.
Yes.
And that's because of lighting. That's because of where cameras are located.
Right.
You want to do a good job to help out your directors and your producers.
Yeah. So sit still is really what he's saying,
now,
and I have
Travis
a problem doing that.
Has the attention span of a 4-year-old that has 3 Code Red Mountain dudes.
It's unbelievable.
So let's see if you can make it through today's show.
Even my kids, who are 7 and 5, are like, Dad, you need to chill out. Like, what? Why are you so helter-skelter all the time? I can't help it. I guarantee you, by the end of this fine Boston has entered the chat program, I'll be way over here.
And I'm going to be pissed. Hey, if you have any tips for Travis and his ADD issues or seating issues, call in 617-790-0928. Email us, thechat@nesson.com. And I say he's ADD as someone with ADHD, so I don't want anyone coming at me. Why are you making fun of Trav like that?
Hey, I've been untreated for it my whole life, but I know it's there.
That's all that matters. All right, let's get to what's trending. Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Talking about paydays.
Yeah, well.
But saying he's not underpaid in response to all the new quarterback deals. Now, we know what Mahomes did after his first Super Bowl, 10-year, $450 million deal signed in 2020. And then the Chiefs went after what he recently did and bumped up his money, saying you'll make $210 million of that $450 by 2026.
Lord.
That comes out. He's making $52.6 million a year. Tua, Jordan Love, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, all guys making more than him annually. And he went out and he goes, I know every time someone gets paid, my contract will come up. But you know what? I'm just going to go out there, win football games. I'm good. And you know what he's saying? Guys, they're making $3, $4, $5 million more than me. Mm-hmm. It's all guaranteed what I'm getting.
That's right.
The Chiefs are manipulating the cat.
That's right.
I'm going to finish with $1 billion on the field. I'm going to be all good. I don't care about any of this because I'm doing it in Kansas City.
That's right.
Where I'm going to win a ton of Super Bowls.
Well, even when he signed the deal, I remember thinking, damn, 10 years. But, you know, you and I deal in contracts. We talk about it all the time. People have different needs at the time of their contract cycle. And he obviously wanted stability. That's what that said to me. 10 years is like, oh, my God. Like, I'm more of a short-term thinker anyway. So I'm like, give me that 4-year deal with the cash, baby. But Mahomes told you with that contract, even though the cash was there, 10 years is like, I want to be here, as you said. I want to win. I want to win Super Bowls. He is also investing in Kansas City with the MLS team. He's with just the Royals. He's in that community, obviously, right? We understand that. So that's what matters to him. And so as these quarterback deals are getting done, you look at most of them are 4-year deals, right? So, of course, every 4 years, every couple years, it's going to reset. These guys are going to make more and more and more money, and he's going to go lower and lower on the list in terms of highest paid. But what does he care? He keeps winning Super Bowls. He's making plenty of money off of the football field with endorsements and everything else, including the investments I just said. And the more you win in this league, especially at that position, as Tom Brady, who didn't make a ton of money. He was never always the highest paid quarterback in the league. Tom did just fine. All that matters is you win, and then everything else takes care of itself. So I like that Patrick Mahomes' priorities are in the right place.
It's also everyone looks at the total value AAV.
Yes.
It's all about total guaranteed money.
Yes.
$210 million, and this is total guaranteed right now.
That's right.
And you know what guaranteed money is? That's what saves you. It doesn't count against a cap because it's guaranteed money. When they start to hit these incentives and get into that, that's when it costs a team. The Chiefs know he's a sure thing. They trust him. He's their Ferrari. They're going to keep fine-tuning it, and they're going to keep it in the shop, and they're going to keep it happy, as they do with Mahomes. They did that, and in 2026, the guaranteed money runs out. You know what's going to happen in 2026 before then? A new deal with new guaranteed money is going to come in.
Of course.
They have them under team control for 10 years, and they're going to keep restructuring, giving them guaranteed money. That relieves a cap and allows them to put a better team around him.
Yeah.
It's also, he's not going to put those details in this quote. And you mentioned it, what he does with MLS and WLS.
Yeah.
What he does with the Royals. In Kansas City, when he's doing that, there's stuff where it's like you're getting equity in this team.
Yes.
You're becoming an MLB owner here in Kansas City. The Hunts are connected. They're billionaires, and they're helping him become a billionaire, make generational wealth himself.
Exactly. And not only that, your dollar goes much further there, I'm sure, than if you're the top guy in New York.
You know what? Like, I can't even really put into words what a house in Overland Park, like a beautiful mansion in OP right outside of Kansas City, would go for. You put that same house here in Boston. All right, let's just say like $1 million house in Kansas City is gonna be like $5-6 mil here. Like that's just, and I think I might be underselling what the value will go up in Boston. So dollar goes further. Everything's cheaper out there.
Oh, you did. You worked in that.
I lived in Missouri.
That's right.
Now I was in Joplin. I was 4 hours south.
Well, sure, but still.
My car insurance, like full coverage, not only liability, full coverage.
Yeah.
My car insurance was like $250 a year.
God.
A year.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, love living in Boston now. Parking on the streets.
Yeah, $250 a day to park.
All right, talk about Jason Tatum.
You still get a ticket.
Yeah, no matter what. $90, street clean in Charlestown. Here you go. Jason Tatum didn't play in the group opening game against Serbia. Team USA didn't need him. No big deal. We thought it was an illness. We thought, yeah, you know what? He might. Nope. Steve Kerr just came out and said, you know, it's tough to play 12 guys in 40 minutes. I don't want to hear it, so I'm going to play 10. Here's now Steve Kerr when asked about that. I'm not going to answer your next question, which is if he plays, who doesn't? But we're going to need him, and part of this job for me is to keep everybody engaged and ready because my experience with this is crazy stuff happens. The hardest part of this job is you're sitting at least a couple of guys who are world-class, some of the very best players on earth. And on the one hand, it makes no sense at all. On the other, I'm asking these guys to just commit to winning one game, then move on to the next one. I have to do the same thing. So I felt like last night, those were the combinations that made the most sense.
Oh, my gosh.
Jason Tatum was the second leading scorer in the last Olympic Games where USA won gold with Drew Holiday on that team.
That's paying dues.
Right? With Devin Booker on that team, too.
Yep.
Jason Tatum is first-team All-NBA 3-time.
Yep.
Jason Tatum's an NBA champion.
Yep.
He's a top 10 player in the world. You can say where he falls into that. That is a guy, he's not a small guard. He's 6'8", 6'9", plays both ends of the floor. And you want to talk about guys accepting roles and needing to play into his system? Mm-hmm. If he goes to Steve Kerr, whatever you need me to do, I'm good. Mm-hmm. He went from being the scorer, being the man, to the facilitator and playmaker to drive that Celtics offense into a historic season and historic playoff run. So he would accept whatever Steve Kerr did. Steve Kerr messed up.
Yes.
And he's just trying to fix it. And of course he's going to play against South Sudan. You need him against South Sudan, a very deep, athletic, skilled team that is hungry and a bunch of underdogs. But this whole thing, Kerr's like, you know, it's really tough. Drew Holiday played 23 minutes. Derek White played 15. You can find 12 minutes between those two alone to give it to Jason Tatum.
Of course you
And then
can.
on top of it, other guys on the floor.
Well, not only that, the most egregious thing Steve Kerr did was start Joel Embiid again.
Yeah, Embiid with 11 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, after we watched all these exhibition games where clearly Embiid is struggling, to say the least, that's being nice. And yet you continue to start this guy over and over again, and he continues to give you reasons to not do it. Meanwhile, you have Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo on your bench who are perfectly capable of starting and playing much better than this loser's playing. But as far as Tatum is concerned, there's no excuse. I don't really care what Steve Kerr said. I almost wish he lied and said, well, you know what? There was an illness going around with the team before the game. I wanted to be cautious with Jason Tatum. And then Jason Tatum could have said BS in his head. But Steve Kerr coming out and just saying, there's really no excuse. I just, you know, he didn't work in our combinations is laughable to me, bro. Like, you got to be kidding me. First of all, the game was tight. So everything George said early on in that game, you could have used Jason Tatum's versatile skill set to help you, right? You didn't do that. Then the U.S., as George said, flipped the switch, started balling out, started pulling away with the lead. Game started getting out of control a little bit. U.S. in control. Find some minutes for Jason Tatum and Tyrese Haliburton to get in there and play in the game. But no, you decide not to. Same Tyrese Haliburton, who was in the Eastern Conference Finals with Jason Tatum. How about that? Two of your best finishers in the East didn't even sniff the game against Serbia. It is laughable. The only thing at this point is I don't even think there's a discussion about Steve Kerr and the imbecile move of not playing Jason Tatum. To me, at this point, the story's more about should Jason Tatum have said something? You know, I mean,
That's what I wanted from Tatum.
I know. Like the shots of him on the sideline being so upset that's now a meme and all that. Like, I get it. He should have been pissed. I would have been too. But say something, bro. Like, you don't have to make a scene, which we're going to talk about later, which is Patriots training camp. But, like,
walk by Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
Go up to him. Hey, I want to get in. I want to get in.
Hey, I'm here. Yoo-hoo. It's me. Champion. Just, I can help. Put me in, coach.
He's lucky Tatum's a nice dude.
Well, that's
a lot of other players at his level would have handled it very poorly.
How much of that is because of Tatum being a nice guy? Like, and what I mean is, it's almost like when people pick on, like when kids pick on certain kids, it's certain kids you can pick on, and then it's certain kids you better not. And I wonder how much of both Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum, two nice guys.
Hallie, I don't care for.
Well, I agree, but I'm just saying they didn't play, bro.
Yeah.
So, but they're both super nice, and I wonder if that's Anthony Edwards sitting on the back end of that bench.
He's checking himself in.
Right. And so some of this is how much is like, not to blame Tatum, but Steve Kerr knows he can get away with not playing Tatum, and it's not going to be a story. Well, it will be a story, but it's not from Tatum.
I think it's also KD going in, getting to his start, and then Kerr throws off all his rotations.
Yeah.
He looks like midway through the second period, he's like, oh, I didn't play Tatum, and I can't put him in now. All around, hey, Steve Kerr, you're learning, bro, how to coach an Olympic team. First time running this team.
He's not doing a good job.
No, bring Popovich back. All right, wrap up with Danny Jansen. Newly acquired by the Red Sox, backup catcher for Connor Wong. He could play in the same game. He could be the first player.
Wait a minute.
In Major League Baseball to play for both teams in the same game.
Huh?
Yeah.
Explain this.
So he was with the Blue Jays before this trade.
Okay.
They were playing each other a couple months ago. Game got rained out, postponed.
Okay.
They're continuing that game on August 26th.
All right.
Jansen played for the Blue Jays for the rained out game. Now he's with the Red Sox. So if he enters a game on August 26th, he technically will have played for the Red Sox and the Blue Jays in the same exact game.
Boy, I was
postponed. Wait, very simple, right?
I was following that like a word problem. I
was
carried
with the Blue
one.
Jays.
I had to.
All
okay,
right, we're back in June. Was with the Blue Jays.
All right, yeah.
Danny Jansen's playing for the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Then rain happens, right?
Yeah, he was at bat.
He was in the game.
All right.
He was in the game.
All
yeah,
right.
He logged in out at bat, whatever it is. He was in the game. Don't worry about how.
Okay.
He's in the game.
Yeah.
Rain comes down, right?
Rain.
A lot of rain.
Yeah.
So they had to postpone the game altogether to continue it and finish it another time.
Following you.
They're going to finish the game August 26th.
Yes.
Danny Jansen's now with the Red Sox.
You got to resume where you were in the game.
Exactly.
Wow.
Was it that difficult?
So wait. So will he like have an at bat?
If he has an at if he does with the
as
Red
a
Sox,
Blue Jay?
I don't. He had an at bat as a Blue Jay.
Okay.
I don't know if he's going to have an at bat with the Red Sox.
Because here's my confusion.
It's not that hard. He played for the Blue Jays.
If he bats for the Blue Jays, I need him to strike out on purpose.
No, he's not with the Blue Jays anymore.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. But if he appears as a Blue Jay,
he's not going to. He's with the Red Sox.
All right, then we're cool.
I simplified
That's
all
where
my notes.
All right.
I simplified all my notes on that. Like our producer Brendan, I love him. Attention to detail so well.
I went cross-eyed.
And
trying to
Brendan
figure
had
it out.
like exactly his roles. Like, no, take it out. I'm gonna keep it simple.
You're like, I'm gonna keep it simple.
And yeah, it wasn't simplified.
No,
enough.
it's fine. I'm with you now. You got me there. Because at first I was confused. I thought he was coming in for the Blue Jays, quick at bat. And then switching jerseys and coming to the other dugout. And I was going to tell him, hey, man, we need you to strike out, Jack. Like, you got it. We need you. You're a Red Sox now.
It is wild. And, like, that is baseball.
Yeah.
To a T of, like, how this can happen.
Yeah.
It is nuts. First player in Major League Baseball history that could
That's cool, though.
play for both teams in one game.
That's cool. Now I need you to make a play in the Red Sox uniform.
There we go.
Right? Like, we need that.
So one more. Ready?
Yeah.
Was with the Blue Jays.
Yes. Rain.
Logged.
Don't forget the rain.
Had an at bat with the Blue Jays against the Red Sox.
Yes.
Rain.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
So the game will be concluded on August 26th.
Yes.
And when the game is concluded on August 26th, what dugout will Danny Jansen be in?
Red Sox, baby! Hey!
And if he plays for the Red Sox, what will he do, Travis?
Hit a home run, game winner, walk off. Thanks to my old team. Sorry, not sorry. Have fun going back to the 6. Deuces.
I feel for every six-year-old kindergarten teacher out there. I'm trying to keep you in your place, trying to keep you from going off screen.
I don't know how they did it. It's a miracle I got through the school system. It really is. No child left behind, truly, is the truth, because they should have left me.
All right, someone else to drop some knowledge on us. We got Keagan Stiefel now joining us.
Yeah!
He was at Patriots practice today. Training camp practice, day 5, first day with pads. I wanted to get into that, but Keagan, there was so much more to this. First off, wait, Keeks, how are you?
I'm doing all right. My head's spinning a little bit from the whole Travis not understanding the Danny Jansen thing.
Sorry, bro.
Did it make sense, Keagan?
I thought I got it, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Travis is right.
No.
He was so confused that now I'm confused.
No, it's not you guys. It's me.
Okay, cool. So we're past that. Keegs, great to see you as always. You were down in Gillette training camp day 5, first day with full pads. We'll get into that. But the biggest storyline of the day is Matt Judon gets onto the practice field wearing sweats and sneakers when everyone's in full pads. And we know Judon was a full participant all leading up until this date. But then Jerod Mayo and Matt Judon had a conversation on the practice field. He was sitting down, seemed to get heated. Judon walked away, came back, had a conversation with Matt Groh and Elliot Wolf. That one was animated as well. Elliot Wolf, Matt Groh, leaders of the front office. What did you see? Because I saw the snippet of the video. What went down today between Jerod Mayo and Matt Judon?
Yeah, it was an interesting situation because everything started off, I assumed, normally. Judon came out early like he always does, and he had the sweats on, but it was kind of it was the long red sleeves, and he had a hat, and I thought, okay, a rookie's coming to bring out his pads, right? Because that's what happens early in training camp. You have the rookies bring out the pads, so that's what I assumed. And then when the players start to stretch, after he had thrown the passes with the fans and did his whole thing, he went and plopped down on a set of crash pads that they use for tackling drills and watched and didn't really do much from there. And as the players stretched, Jerod walked over, had a conversation with him. I would say it was animated. I wouldn't say it was contentious or they weren't yelling at each other or anything, but it was animated. And Jerod made sure to cover up his mouth because he knew cameras were on him. And they had about a 5-minute conversation. Jerod went about practice, and then eventually Judon left. He was out there for probably 45 minutes, but 15 minutes into practice, he was gone, and we didn't see him for the rest of practice. So it was an interesting situation, something I've never seen before, something I don't think we would have saw under Bill Belichick, that's for certain.
No.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And we know Jerod Mayo, after Matt Judon, Devon Gottschall spoke to the media, he said, hey, I want the guys to be them. I want them to be happy. Someone's going to say, I hate Jerod Mayo, and I'll live with it. But basically, he was like, let the players be the players and being very player-friendly. But I feel like today is him paying the price of that, where it went a little too far. Yeah. Reading into the body language, it's not Matt Judon on the practice field. It's him sitting down while guys are in drill.
Yes.
And it has to be Jerod Mayo going up to him and saying, you're a leader. I understand you're not happy, but you can't be doing this in front of the other guys. We're trying to establish a culture here that you know what we have. I came up through it. You've been in it. So either get off or go get your pads on. But that's what it looks like right now, Keagan, that Jerod Mayo is paying that price. We spoke about it on Rush. He's learning how to be a head coach, everything on the fly.
Yep.
He learned another lesson of you got to take care of this stuff in-house. You can't let it happen on the practice field.
Yeah, I'm surprised he even let him go out there. Usually with situations like this, the team's not going to want to fine Matt Judon for a hold-in. There's a set amount that they can fine him every day for not practicing. But they could just say, he tweaked a hamstring. He's not ready to practice today. And worry about it behind the scenes, kind of take a step back and handle everything off the field, but they didn't do that. And by not doing that, it comes across, I think it's a bad look for everybody involved. Jerod obviously having to go and have that conversation, clearly feeling like something wasn't communicated off the field correctly to where Judon felt he could do this. And with Elliot Wolf and Matt Groh doing what they were doing, which I think a part of this that hasn't been brought up yet is Devon Gottschall's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, was at practice today. Wow. He was standing with the family and friends, and he was talking with Matt Groh while the players were stretching, having a conversation. Devon Gottschall hasn't signed an extension, but he was on the field. He was practicing. Matthew Judon was not. What's the difference there? Is it the fact that his agent was there? Maybe they were ironing out the details of a new contract extension. Obviously we don't know that yet, but the optics of the whole situation, definitely not a good look for anybody involved with the Patriots player, coach, executive, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think it's tough for these players because all their teammates have already got paid and they have extensions, except those two. And so I'm sure that adds to the contentiousness as well. All right, so first day in pads, I'm all good with that. But, George walks by me earlier today, Keegs. And
Here we go.
He just drops this on me cash, walk-off style. There was no back and forth.
Yep.
It was very like he said it and then he walked off into the night. So I'm
this is
gonna go
100%
there.
true. This is 100% true.
I'm
Whatever
gonna go
he's
there
say.
right now.
I'm sure it's how it happened. Yep.
He says to me, "Hey Trav," I'm like, "Yes, George. I'm working very hard on Boston has entered the chat. You're interrupting me. How may I help you?" He says, "Jacoby Brissett was better than your boy today," and walks off. Okay, first of all, you weren't there. Keegs was. Give me the skinny. Did my guy Drake struggle today? What's going on, man? Like, what happened? Tell me what really happened. Did my guy Drake ball out and George is just trying to hide it from me? Was Jacoby better?
Yep.
Like, tell me everything.
Go ahead, Keegan.
Trav, Jacoby Brissett was better than your boy today. I hate to say it.
Wait,
and I
all
hate
5
to say
days.
it like that,
all 5 days. It's been all 5 days. Go, Keegan. I'm sorry.
Just focus on today.
Nope, all 5 days. Go ahead, Keegan.
I'll say this. With who they're playing with, and really like the receivers and the running backs, the tight ends have really cycled through. They've played with all the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But behind the offensive lines that they're playing behind, Jacoby Brissett's going to be playing better than Drake May right now. I mean, the top offensive line group looked great today.
Love hearing that.
Compared to how they've looked, you know what I mean? They looked better, and it's because they were in pads. They could actually block people instead of just trying to get in front of them. That's not really how you play football. But the top offensive line group looked good. Jacoby Brissett made plays. It wasn't like he was just standing back there and firing balls around. Like, I saw him make maybe the most athletic play he's made since that Texans game, his rookie year. He stepped up, avoided pressure, made a throw on the run across his body, dropped it in between two defenders to Jalen Polk. It was a nice throw. It was the best throw of the day. And then, obviously, the Patriots tweeted out a few videos. All Jacoby Brissett, all of his throws. He definitely looked a lot better, and I think he has throughout camp, but I don't know how much stock you can put into it because of who they're playing with. Vidarian Lowe's blocking for Drake May. No one's going to do much behind that.
And that encapsulates the offensive line. While we're talking about that, who is a left tackle? Who's a right tackle, Keegan?
Caden Wallace at left tackle, Chooks Okorafor at right tackle, which is
third straight practice.
What they've, it's what they've gone with the last few days. I think they're starting to find a little bit of continuity there, and they're getting better as they go. We talked to City So after practice, and he talked about a hand striking thing that they're going through with the offensive line, and how Caden Wallace just seems to get it. Like he said, he's a big dude. The first thing I thought when I saw him, that's a big dude, and he's strong and he's smart. He's picking things up quickly. So maybe with him not repping with the ones early on, maybe it was just a matter of he had to start to pick these things up, and now that he has, he looks pretty good out there. I'd say that today was the best day the best they've looked throughout the spring and the summer.
That's great to hear for a defense that dominated them, so I just love hearing that.
What have you seen so far from camp that you were looking forward to coming into camp, and then what's still on your wish list that you're kind of waiting to see you haven't seen just yet?
Javon Baker is as he advertised. He liked to tell everybody, get your popcorn out.
Right.
I think they should start selling popcorn for the fans out there because he is impressive to watch. He's one of those guys, too, where it's not just like he's running by people and he's open, he's sitting down and making catches. He's going up above people and mossing them. That the head top that the kids like to talk about, that's Javon Baker in a nutshell. He's looked very good. Better than I expected. I thought it was going to take him a while. I thought Jalen Polk was further ahead. But for what they've shown so far, Javon Baker's been the best receiver in camp. And in terms of what I'd like to see, other than the Matthew Judon, Devon Godshaw stuff get figured out, I would really like to see the tight end group kind of solidify itself. Mitchell Wilcox today seemed like he was the third tight end behind Hooper and Henry. What is Jaheim Bell's deal? Well, Michael Petway is like a blocking tight end, but he can't do anything in the passing game. Jacob Warren, the other rookie, no one's expecting much out of him. I would like to see somebody take a step. No one has done that so far. It looks like it's going to be a one-man group again with Hunter Henry. So even if it's just Austin Hooper and he takes a step forward and looks like he's starting to grasp the offense that he's played in already, that would be huge, I think, for the offense, giving the quarterback another security blanket.
Yeah, you and I are dreams of Jaheim Bell, the X factor of the offense, a long way from that. Hey, full pads came on. Let's talk about that. How did the offensive line, how did the defensive line look, and how was it to see these guys finally throw the pads on? Like Jabril Pepper said, felt like game day, but what was the execution and what stood out to you out there with the full pads finally on?
Yeah, poor Jabril. I mean, he tweeted it felt like game day, and then he was out of practice within 15 minutes. Looked like he tweaked his left leg. So I think he's fine. He was flexing it, walking around. It might have just been a cramp or maybe a pulled hammy or something like that. He'll be okay eventually, but it was not a great sign to see early in practice. And in terms of the offensive line, I think that's why they look better is because they could actually get their hands on somebody. We'd been hearing from, we talked to one or two offensive linemen per day throughout the first few days, and they were all saying this isn't real football. And then today, they were like, yeah, we played real football today. We were able to punch somebody a little bit and get our hands on people. And that Scott Peters punch system, I hadn't heard much about it until today. And from what I've seen, that thing's real. Like these guys really like whatever he's teaching them, and I don't know much about it. I'm not an offensive line guru like George, but they looked really good out there. We saw Caden Wallace do a one-on-one rep with Dietrich Wise, where he punched him in the middle of the chest and stopped Dietrich Wise in his tracks. You don't do that. That's like I don't think I've ever seen somebody stop Dietrich Wise in his tracks because that's a big dude. So if they're going to be able to win reps immediately off the punch, I think that's going to be huge for this offensive line. And that's what City So said. He said, we can win reps within the first second because we're just stopping a guy, and they can't recover in the time that the ball's going to get out. So I think the offensive line is definitely on the way up. The defensive line, obviously, they're going to get theirs. In the run game specifically, they looked better than maybe the offensive line did. But in pass protection, the O-line is on the way up, I would say.
Hey, that's great news for Drake May starting week 1. So keep it up, offensive line. Now, let me ask you this. Christian Barmore, we actually broke the news last night here on Boston Has Entered the Chat of him being out indefinitely with blood clots. And obviously everyone's hoping that he's okay and he gets well soon. Was there any talk about that around camp today? Did you hear anything? Do you have any new news on that? Is there an expected timetable? Is there a rumored timetable of how long he could be out?
Yeah, Jerod said no timetable.
Okay.
And from what we've heard, it's a lot of kind of letting him go at his pace and figuring out what the next steps are. I did a little bit of research into just kind of blood clots with athletes, and it's a big range from what the outcome can be. Serena Williams dealt with it, and she was back pretty quickly. Steven Stamkos dealt with it. It took him 3 months. It ended Chris Bosh's career. So that's a big time frame in terms of when you can come back. I would expect that it's going to be a while before we get a real update. I wouldn't expect him to be playing football anytime soon. But the one encouraging thing that we heard was he's not at the hospital. He's at home right now. So I think they're discussing whatever they need to discuss, but to know that he's not, cooped up at Brigham and Women's or wherever he was, that's good news for sure, that he's home and he's with his family. So 25th birthday yesterday, not what you want on your 25th birthday.
Yeah.
So, but it's good to know that he's at home.
You pointed out Stamkos, Serena, David Andrews missed a 2019 season of blood clots. And just to point it out to the morons out there, blood clots happened in athletes before 2020. I just want to say that.
That's right.
I'll leave the rest of you guys to infer it
well
as it
said.
goes. Trav, by the way, Drake May today, 3 for 11 and 19 saps, sacked twice, interception to 7-on-7s. Jacoby Brissett, 13 for 16, 2 deep completions, 1 to Tyquan Thornton, 1 to Javon Baker. I just want to make sure you knew that. All right, Keeks, you saw day 1 in full pads. What are you hoping that you're going to learn about this team as they move forward and continue where it's going to be actual football and there's no more acclimation period? It's a full go from here.
Yeah, I mean, this offense is going to live and die by the run game. I think we all know that. That's something that they've made abundantly clear. I'd like to see them figure things out in terms of the kind of run game that they're going to be. It seemed like depending on the running back that was in there, were they running zone, outside zone, inside zone, power, whatever they were doing, it seemed to be all over the place a little bit, I would say. So I'd like to see them kind of settle in to something, especially with Ramondre, see what he's comfortable with, because it's a different style of running in a zone system versus a power system versus a gap, whatever it might be. So I'd like to see the offensive line and the offense figure out how they're going to go about setting up the pass and running on early downs, whether it be 2 tight ends, you know what I mean? So that's something I think we're going to find as the pads come on and as they start to get into competition with other teams. Those joint practices with Philadelphia, I think, are going to be huge because that is a monster defensive line that they're going to have to deal with.
Yep.
One of the best defensive lines, one of the best defenses in the entire NFL they'll be facing. That's great. That's a great litmus test for them. Hey, Keagan Stiefel. I'm still going to get it down, man, one day. Keagan Stiefel coming from training camp. I know. I got to get the big star's name right. That's what I have to do as a host. Appreciate you taking the time. You guys can catch his full coverage over on Nesson.com. Him and Sean McGuire, full coverage every day, Patriots training camp. Appreciate you taking the time, man.
Thanks, boys.
Love that dude, man.
So, I mean, yeah, what I told you about Jerod Mayo and
you were right.
Brissett.
It checked out. I thought you were just trolling me. It checked out. But it's just one day. I mean,
it's been 5 days.
This happens. It we'll just talk about today. These things happen. This is part of the process. Yeah. He's the maturation of a young quarterback. In fact, you can watch George and I argue about this over and over again, now and all season long on Foxborough Rush. Check it out. The latest episode. Tune in on Nesson's YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you follow us on all your social media accounts for all of our best content as well.
All right, so MLB trade deadline still going down. It'll wrap up Tuesday at 6 p.m. Red Sox so far, as of the recording of this podcast, have signed James Paxton, who's DFA'd by the Dodgers.
Yes.
Traded for catcher Danny Jansen, who could play in the same game.
That's right.
For the Red Sox and Blue Jays on
I'm
August
with you.
26th. Cool.
I'm with you.
And pitched for a depth pitcher here in Quinn Priester. That Priester move was intriguing because that means they traded Nick York over to the Pirates. But let's start with the Priester acquisition.
Okay.
Then. Future pitching depth. Was a top 100 prospect in MLB. First round pick for the Pirates. Just a over 5 ERA.
Yeah.
In about 44 2/3 innings pitched through 10 appearances so far this season. But he's a ground ball pitcher, similar to Tanner Houck.
Yes.
He's very young. Long out getter, depth starter is what his projection is. And the sinker and slider is two main pitches. I think that's key because he's not a guy that comes in that's fastball heavy.
Yeah.
So Andrew Bailey doesn't have to drill that out of him. He's more of the breaking balls, off-speed pitches. That's what Bailey specializes in. And again, long-term out-getter. They needed help in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Or at best, enters his way into this rotation that needs help as well.
Yeah, I understood the move, even though I was surprised to see Nick York go because we had just heard so much stuff. But I obviously understand it. Arms are arms in this league. And as you said, whether he works his way into the rotation at some point or he comes out of the bullpen or both, I mean, you got to have the arms. So I understood it, even though I was surprised to see York's name involved.
He plays outfield or second base, but look at this Major League outfield right now. Let's start with there.
Yeah.
Jaron Durant, Ceddanne Rafaela, Willie Abreu.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at the middle infield. Vaughn Grissom, who let's see if he can get healthy.
We'll see.
David Hamilton, Emmanuel Valdez, Chase Mydrith, Marcelo Mayer, and Ceddanne Rafaela could play the middle infield. Both teams, the Pirates have a embarrassment of riches of pitching depth.
Yeah.
The Red Sox have an embarrassment of riches coming up through their pipeline of middle infield players.
Right.
They both traded something that they have a luxury of for something they need.
Yeah, it was a win-win. And I would also add to that, there's more of a premium on arms anyway.
Yeah.
So, I think even though it was a win-win for both sides, when you break it down in that way, I would still say the Red Sox benefited more because that's what you need. You need arms in Major League Baseball. So you get one here, and we'll see what happens with this kid.
And it's good to see Craig Breslow get a deal done. Remember, we were talking about it. You go, I would write off my top 8 prospects, and Nick York wasn't in
That's
that.
right.
He's outside of that. But no matter what.
But he had hype behind him, though.
Exactly. That was a big prospect.
Yeah, he had
That's
hype.
a guy that they projected into the future of the
I was
team.
surprised to see his name.
Now, he wasn't a Craig Breslow guy. Obviously, he was from a different front office. But
True.
He saw what he had, who was a good player, and was doing well with Portland, and he was willing to part with him to get a deal done.
Yeah.
Because this Priester addition can help the team this season and can help them down the road. So I think you get better now and down the road.
Yeah, but I'll say this. I mean, Priester, Jansen, Paxton, it's not enough. I mean, you just look around at a lot of these teams, leading up to the deadline. I know the deadline's today, but leading up to the deadline, they've made splashy moves. They've made big moves. I think the Red Sox have made a lot of complimentary moves, but there has not been one move yet where I thought that's going to help get you over the hump in a winnable American League. Meanwhile, the Mariners had a huge move. The Orioles have had huge moves. The Yankees, I wouldn't, characterize
need more
Jazz
pitching,
as
but
a huge move, but it was
good
a
ad.
something. It was a good ad. He's a versatile player who can help them, fill needs in that lineup. So I just think, like, I like the moves the Red Sox have made so far, but I want to love them by the 6 o'clock today. You understand what I'm saying? So I need a little bit more from them.
Danny Jansen's been in the major leagues for 7 years. Kevin Gausman said that they didn't shake up the clubhouse.
Yeah.
But it was felt because he said this about Danny Jansen, the catcher. He has been here for a long time. He has been a staple in this lineup, in this stadium, on this field, and behind that plate. We're going to miss him. I understand the business, but he is a hell of a person, hell of a baseball player. That's big for a guy that can back up Connor Wong, who is just nails at the catcher spot.
Yes, he is.
98th percentile on blocks above average. He does chase a ton of pitches in the box when he's batting.
Yeah.
And he's had a down year, but just can you get the bat right? And can you just be a fill-in guy behind the dish where Wong's going to hold it down? So they go that. Paxton's a one. Again, you need more from your arms because you got a future one. You got a guy now, but Paxton, 4.43 ERA with the Dodgers, and he's last few years coming back from Tommy John has run out of gas second half of the season.
Yeah.
Can he put it together? But again, this is a end of rotation.
Yeah.
At highest a third starter, but they shouldn't need him in that spot.
He's a fifth starter. And he's familiar with here. Everybody loves a Big Maple. I get it. Like I don't have any problem with any of these moves. What I'm saying is I need more.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's too much to ask because again, I keep going back to this. The American League is very wide open. You're not dealing with the Phillies. You're not dealing with the Dodgers like in the NL, which is so top-heavy. But if you notice, it feels very much like an arms race to me. These teams in the American League, I guess, see it the same way as I do, as winnable, as wide open. And the Mariners with a Rosarena is a big boy move. The Orioles getting Eflin to go with Burns and that rotation is a big boy move. So I just want more from the Red Sox.
Who do you think else is going to get moved by the end of the deadline, Tuesday, 6 p.m.?
I mean, we all know the names. I like, one guy I have my eye on that I hope the Red Sox get involved with. And I was just reading this today, actually. It's funny you say this. The kid with the A's, Rooker. And the A's allegedly are a little hesitant to trade him, and it's like, why?
What are you doing?
You suck. Like, trade the kid. Like, you're clearly in a complete rebuild. This kid can play. I think he fits in with the Sox personally. I'd like to see him, but I want to see where he ends up. There's a ton of people. There's a ton of players. I just hope the Red Sox get their hands on one of them or two of them or all of them.
Could be something like Vlad Jr. going to the Mariners.
Oh, don't say that.
They kept their top prospects. They still need offensive help. And Garrett Crochet, he's going to end up somewhere.
Yeah,
Where,
of course.
I don't know.
Of course.
He's going to end up somewhere.
He's another one. Vlad Jr. to the Mariners is not, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. I don't like it. I don't like it. I didn't like when they got a Rosarena. That's a dude who can do everything, shows up in the postseason.
I mean, I love it because it's good for baseball and it makes it a lot more competitive. That's a team on Seattle been waiting on. I'm going 10,000 feet away. I like that ad by the Mariners because it makes them a competitive team.
I know, but I want the Red Sox to win the American League.
Yeah,
don't you see?
Yeah, but I'm looking at for the Red Sox to win the American League.
Yeah.
They need to upgrade their team right now.
Yes.
And the Mariners, by going out and getting a Rosarena and Vlad Jr., it'll push the Red Sox even more.
Stop saying Vlad Jr. to them.
Iron sharpens iron.
Oh, I can't. I want him. In fact, at this point, if the Sox aren't going to get him, send his ass to the National League. I do not want to see Vlad Jr. in a different American League uniform. I just can't have it.
Get him out of the league altogether,
yes.
let alone the division.
Send him to the National League.
All right, we're going to go through some greatest MLB trade deadline moves all time.
All right.
I'm going to go, I'd kind of put these out of order.
Okay.
But I'll go with my number one then, actually, because it directly translated to a ring.
Okay.
Aroldis Chapman traded to the Chicago Cubs.
I remember that. Yep.
2016.
I remember that.
That's when he was still touching 104 miles per hour whenever he wanted to.
Yeah.
He had 3 saves in the NLDS. Then in Game 5 of the World Series, pitched his 7th, 8th, 9th.
Yeah.
Because the Cleveland was up 3-1.
Right.
And Chicago was taxed. 7th and 8th in Game 6. Closed out Game 7. Blew the save. Rain came through. That saved the Cubs.
Yeah.
Ended up winning the game. Chicago wins the World Series.
Didn't he go back to the Yankees, though, at some point?
He was with the Yankees, traded to the Cubs as a pure rental.
Yeah.
Chicago got their ring, and he went back to New York.
And he went back.
But he got a ring.
He got the ring. That's what he was there for. He should never buy a drink ever in the Cubs. All right, let's match here. You gave me your third. I'll give you my third. I went Nomar. Getting traded from the Sox for Cabrera and Minkiewicz, who we know were integral pieces in the World Series. But Nomar at that point, I remember he was injury prone. He was just kind of breaking down. And I thought it was smart timing-wise for the Red Sox to get rid of him at that time. And clearly it worked out for the Sox.
Number 2 for me, I went, and our boy Ante is going to like this. I did go Manny to the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah.
Red Sox playing it perfect, where like Manny was not handling it well leading up to the deadline. Like, talking to the media, it was getting nasty.
I remember that.
Then traded to the Dodgers, 17 home runs, 53 RBI in 53 games, a 12.32 OPS, and then in the playoffs, 520 with a 1747 OPS.
Wow.
10 RBI, 4 home runs.
Wow.
He turned Hollywood into Mannywood. It was great.
Yeah, I'm going Verlander traded from the Tigers to the Stros for prospects. And by the way, this was one of those deals that was literally done at the final seconds of the deadline. They were trying to get him, wasn't happening. They'd almost gave up on it. Threw another Hail Mary, probably threw in another prospect that you never heard of. And then the Tigers said, okay, fine. Here, take Justin Verlander, one of the greatest pitchers of his generation, sends him to the Stros, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Man, huge for Houston. Got to look back on that trade of how many foundational pieces they have with Detroit coming up now, but they're still 12 games out of any playoffs.
Didn't work.
That was a team I liked in their division. My number 1, CC Sabathia to the Brewers from Cleveland.
Oh, yeah.
Midway through the point was dominating for the Indians. Gets traded to Milwaukee and still almost won NL Cy Young. In 83 days, he pitched 130 innings.
Yeah.
7 complete games, 3 shutouts, 24 earned runs.
Yeah.
In 130 innings, and he led the Brewers to the first postseason appearance since 1982. Worth it for Milwaukee.
I'm going Nationals when they traded Trey Turner and Max Scherzer for prospects, including Josiah Gray, who ended up being a pretty good pitcher for the Nats right now. But Mad Max and Trey Turner to the Dodgers. And I remember at the time just being like, well, just give the Dodgers the damn World Series now. This is unfair. And Scherzer did his part, but Trey Turner did nothing. He did nothing for the Dodgers in the postseason. They didn't win the World Series because of it, if you ask me. But I just remember thinking at the time, like, how did the Dodgers do this? How they pull this off? Scherzer and Trey Turner, really, for a bunch of prospects. But I mean, even with that being said, because both of those guys we know left eventually, L.A., they didn't get a World Series because of it. Only in L.A. Dave Roberts.
I like you.
It is. How does
I like
that
you
guy
pulling your DC days for this one.
Well, yeah. I mean, I had to, right? But look, even this trade deadline.
It's because they had to play a full season.
I'm interested to see who's selling when you think they could be buying and vice versa. And what I mean is, I've been saying till I'm blue in the face for weeks now, I want Nathan Eovaldi back, right, to the Red Sox. And people are saying, well, you know, I mean, technically the Rangers aren't dead. They're still, you know, they still could be buyers or they may not want to be sellers. When I'm like, every time I look up, they're falling further and further out of the wild card hunt. They're falling further and further behind in that division. They're not playing well right now as we speak. And I would love for the Rangers to be sellers. They are not repeating as champs. So get up off Nathan Eovaldi, would you? Send them back to Boston. So I want to see some of those teams that are on the level as like a Rangers. Are you sellers? Because we see Tampa Bay. I mean, it's a fire sale. They've got rid of everyone. So I want to see some teams. Are they really going to be selling like I hope? And
it is. If you go out and get an Eovaldi, he could teach these young guys how to play.
I know.
He could teach his young team how to perform in the playoffs. And he shows a guy like Priester who could be part of your future plans, along with the Houcks, along with the Cutter Crawfords, the more important guys in your rotation. And Brian Bayo, maybe you could get in the help of Brian Bayo. He teaches those guys what it takes to win in the playoffs. And that's been a guy that's has the experience, been dependable.
Right.
So you'd want Texas to sell. And that could be another arm the Red Sox go out and get. And the price shouldn't be too high.
It's not.
Because he also would be a rental without team control after this
That's
season.
what I'm saying. But there's a number of teams in that sort of same zip code as the Rangers where they could stand pat, try to make a run for a postseason berth, or they could sell off all their assets, which is what I'm hoping happens.
All right, that's it for Boston. Has entered the chat. You want to call in 617-790-0928. Leave us a voicemail. Email us, thechat@nesson.com. He's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. This is the chat brought to you from the PNC Bank Studio. We'll see you guys same time, same place next time.